Okay, so we're now going to take a look at the two kinds of criticism, two kinds of responses to this argument: drugs only hurt those who use them, therefore drugs should be legal. Now, the first one, let's call him a very creative name, critic number one, who responds to this argument in this way. He says, "You're right that people who use drugs only hurt themselves. That's why we refer to drugs as victimless crimes. However, from this fact, you cannot jump to the conclusion that drugs should be legal. For example, from the fact that suicide does not harm anyone other than the person himself or herself, it does not follow that suicide should be legal. We should try to prevent people from hurting themselves." Okay, so that's one response that people have to this kind of argument. And it's actually a common one. It's not just something that I'm pulling out of my hat, so to speak. And as we hear this in conversations about the government's war on drugs, whether drugs should be legalized or not, we get an argument like the one we're considering, and we get this kind of criticism. That's one sort of criticism that we hear. Now, a second sort of criticism comes from what I'm calling here critic number two. And critic number two says, why do you say that people who use drugs only hurt themselves? Members of the family and friends of drug users sometimes are hurt by the person's drug use. In addition, habitual drug users are sometimes a burden to society. Parents who are addicted to drugs sometimes do not take care of their children. If they were just harming themselves, I would agree. Okay, so notice now we have a separate kind of criticism, a different kind of criticism that we hear in this same kind of conversation. And let's now turn to trying to figure out, analyze these two kinds of criticisms, because I think they're showing us that there are two different ways that people in general can go about criticizing an argument. And I think from that it's going to suggest that there are two kinds of considerations, two kinds of things that go into making an argument a good one.